Hello everyone, welcome to the video walkthrough of Sega inspection software powered by 20AI. First of all, to obtain complete access to the software, the user must log in using an admin ID and password provided by 20. Once logged in, the user is led to the analytics section. This is basically a report card showing the details of all the inspection taken place the day before. It shows the number of accepted products, rejected products, stain count, overall product count, a graphical representation of products accepted and rejected versus a 24-hour timeline, a shift-wise report, and details like machine ID and material ID in the report table. Moving to the top, we can find the inspect section. This section on command indicates a PLC that the system is ready for inspection. When activated, the button turns green and a signal is sent to the PLC indicating the system readiness. Now the user can signal the PLC to start inspection from their end, and all the values on the page gets dynamically updated. Next is data capture, and this is the first step towards the teaching process of the AI in the system. Once the conveyor belt starts running, the capturing process can be initiated. The cameras capture image samples and display them in these columns. The next step in data capturing is classifying this data into master ID lists. We can select the samples of similar products and move them to the desired ID list. Let's say ID is number 1. We can move the sample to ID list number 1. Users can create and name ID lists as per their requirement. Now after that, we select samples suitable for teaching. Now not all images can be up to quality due to lighting issues, vibrations, etc. So good samples will be labeled as good and undesirable samples will be labeled bad. Let me show you an example. Now let's label these image samples as good. And let's label this as bad. Okay. Note that only good samples will be used for the teaching process. Now the system AI is ready for teaching. Moving on to teaching, let's select ID 1. And as you can see, there are 4 different parts for the teaching process. The first one being extraction. So extraction is done to identify the dimensions, color, and location of the cone in the image. First, input the cone diameter under configure. And select the crop tool. Align and resize the crop tool along the cone and save the cropped image. This process is to be repeated for at least 4 images before we could extract the cone from the image. Now, more the number of images cropped, better the results will be. As you can see, the apply button activates after 4 images are configured. The system AI extracts the cone from the images along with the dimensions, as you can see here. So in any case of major difference in values, we can always go back and reconfigure and reteach the system. Now the next part of teaching is tube extractions. Similar to cone extraction, the tube diameter is provided and the crop tool selected to extract the tube. Again, even this process has to be repeated for at least 4 images before we could extract the tube. Again, in case of any mistake, we can go back and reteach the AI. So one additional step in tube extraction is color detection. This is to teach the AI to identify the patterns on the tube. Here we select 5 foreground points and 5 background points at least. And we repeat this process again for at least 4 images. So any mistakes can be reconfigured. You just have to go back and redo the whole process. So that's done. The next part in the teaching process is stain detection. Now, stain detection has no particular teaching process. Once the cone and tube are extracted, the system automatically detects stains and labels the images as good or bad as per the image. So you can see all these images are labeled as good, because obviously we selected the good images for the teaching process. Again, if there are any mistakes in the results, we can always go back to the cone extraction and reconfigure the results. Now going to the final part of the teaching process, which is thread mix. As you can see, the thread mix process requires UV image samples, and just like cone extraction previously, we proceed with the crop tool and extract the cones. And just like before, we will be repeating the process for 4 images. And once these 4 images are extracted, the final results are produced and they will be labeled as such. Now again, in case of any undesirable results, this can also be reconfigured. This is where the admin can access and configure all the settings for the inspection process. First, camera. Once the manufacturer, camera number and camera type is selected, the connection can be established and the real-time video of the feed from the camera is displayed below. After this, the exposure of the camera can be adjusted as required. Next is PLC. Connection to the PLC can be established after entering its IP address. After connecting, the admin can configure the PLC registers as desired. Now, under shifts, a maximum of up to 3 shifts can be configured along with their respective timings. Going back to lights. Here, each light can either be individually controlled or using a master switch controlled altogether. Next is configure. In this section, we can control the type of inspection to be carried out and the type of product to be inspected. That is, under defects, we can select the type of inspection we desire or remove any undesired inspections. All we have to do is select or unselect and submit. Similarly, under master ID, we can choose which ID to be inspected or removed from the inspection. Just like that. Next in settings is illumination. This section is used to check the quality of lights installed. Once the conveyor is switched off, the admin can carry out the quality check. Select either visible or UV light and check. The system then checks the illumination values against our pre-programmed parameters and displays errors here if any. Email settings. Now this section allows the admin to set emails to which daily reports are to be sent automatically. As you can see here, the system gives a provision for custom email server configurations as well. Finally, the power off and restart buttons are pretty straightforward. The admin can directly switch off or restart the system using them respectively. Moving on to reports. The reports section allows the user to view reports in many configurations. So we can view daily reports, say we can view shift-wise reports, and we can view reports based on material ID, machine ID and status. They can also be configured to identify machines that produce the largest number of defects, and these reports can also be downloaded. Next is activity log. Activity log provides details of the number of users logged into the software, their duration and their timestamp. Finally, manage users. This section will be used by the admins to add new users, remove users and edit privileges of existing users. Here we can select the privileges that the users can access other than admins. So before we conclude, keep in mind that all these sections can be accessed only by a user with admin privileges, while a normal user can only access the inspect and report sections or any other sections that the admin provides. Thank you.